Well, David goes way back with both Matt and I. We were just talking before the show came on when I was working at the Free Press, and the Michigan Growth Capital Symposium was kind of a small, kind of seminary kind of thing.
And it was a very local
Very
operation.
local,
Yeah.
and then it grew into this big national kind of thingy, and lots of people. Gosh, you'd have 500 or 600 people there in some of those events. And then I think during the pandemic, you had to scale it back or just suspend it, if I recall, didn't you?
No, we did it online.
Oh,
And
that's right. It was virtual. Yeah, that's right.
yeah, and that was not to the liking of a lot of people, but you do what you have to do, and the biggest thing was to keep it going.
Well, I always enjoyed it because it was like old home week. I'd see people that I only see once a year. I know a lot of people in the angel and venture capital community, and so it'd be a chance to catch up with them. And that networking is really good. This year's event is coming up in June, but there's a sad note. I'm going to try not to cry while I say this. David's going to be retiring, so okay, I choked back the tears. But Matt and I are both curious. What are you going to do next? Now, I know your wife isn't going to let you just sit around the house because I know your wife. So
my explanation is I'm retired, but I'm not tired.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah. So I just helped start the fund in Detroit, devoted to electric vehicles and so on, mobility in general, and I'm helping with the conferences that I started here, and just helping with companies, thinking about joining a couple of boards, getting in as much trouble as possible. So
well, that's what you Ohio State people do is get into trouble. So I mean,
that and save Michigan, right? Come on.
That's it. Yes,
Yeah.
So, but anyway, let's talk.
Thanks for the Upper Peninsula, by the way.
We appreciate it. You're welcome.
You could have Toledo.
I don't know if Toledo. I don't know where that fits in the grand lexicon, but
what a
nice
deal!
place.
What a deal that was.
Yeah,
huh?
absolutely.
So in all seriousness, tell us a little bit about when and why the Michigan Growth Capital Symposium started. What was it?
It's a good question. When I got here, the guy that I had gone through Ohio State with, best pal, Seth Bonder, was a professor in engineering. He beat me up here by 1 year. And we started a company doing operations research for the military. And I raised a little bit of money for it. And then the University of Michigan asked me if I would take time off and a budget to study the following question: why do tech startups in Michigan flame out for lack of capital or move somewhere else and succeed? And you can see what they were concerned with. They're putting a lot of effort and all that sort of stuff. So I did. That took about 1.5 years, and wrote a book on it. And one of the things that was very clear to me was that anybody in Michigan who succeeded raised his or her money. There weren't a lot of hers there, I must say, in those days, as you know, compared to today, but raised his money somewhere else, another state, another country, whatever, and probably moved at some point, And so I thought, gee, if that's the way it is, don't spit in the wind. Gather up the good companies in Michigan, throw what you might call a party, pull them all together, invite investors from around the country in to come and see what we had, and see what happens. And that took off because I had interviewed so many people for the book out in the Valley and in Boston and New York and all over the place. They knew who I was. They didn't think I was entirely a bad fellow, and came. And I thought it would last 2 or 3 years. Here we are in the 42nd annual one. There have been good times and bad times in the marketplace here over those years, but we never didn't do it. We kept doing it. Good years and hot years and cold years. And there were some nice hot years. Some great companies have gone through there. Not every company went through there. A lot of people didn't need to. Some people didn't want to, and all that sort of stuff. And so it's interesting that the same question that launched it resounds today. how do we get enough capital for our local companies? And if you look at the data put out by the Venture Capital Association, there's a way more money coming in from out of state than is being generated here locally. And that's not a rap against our venture folks. It's just that a lot of people around the country are looking at Michigan and finding that we've got pretty good resources here and we should invest in them. The mystery is why we don't have more local investors doing it. So it was a long answer, sorry.
Yes, long answer, but very good answer.
Good yeah.
Yes, and that is still a bugaboo. I did mention to you that I'm got a software as a service company on the side that we're getting our pitch deck together. I'm not going to pitch you on that right now.
I knew there was some reason you asked me on every year.
Well, I wanted you to remember this, so when I come calling, that okay, I owe Brennan a favor.
I do. You wear the beard because your first deal flopped. Is that it?
Is that it? Yeah.
Disguise. Okay.
That would be.
Well, it looks good on you.
I had to change my look, so they wouldn't. He's back again. But anyway, so this year's event, who are some of the keynotes? You got those lined up?
The biggest one is the two keynotes. We've got Doug Song will keynote the second day. Louis Cannon, founder of BioStar Ventures, will keynote the first. Louis has a fund that is the leading fund, certainly in Michigan, in medical devices, and is internationally prominent, and reflective of the purpose of the symposium. Has never raised a dime in Michigan, and so that tells you something. Anyway, whatever it tells you, make up your own. And Doug Song, of course, is globally famous for being the leader in computer safety and so on. And Duo is
he sold that for a few bucks. I guess he doesn't have to work.
2.3 billion.
Yeah, he doesn't have to work for a living now if he doesn't want to. But I guess he's
like another guy. He's like another guy. He doesn't quit. He keeps going. So.
Ever ready bunny. Yes, that's good for him. Go ahead, man.
And along with that, we've got a lot of really, what we try to do every year is be timely, things that are going on in the market in general. And when you look around, the first thing you see is the Silicon Valley Bank issue. And that leads to the question, what's the future of venture capital? And that's big. And we've got a nice panel put together on that. We've got panels on dealing with limited partners as a general partner, and the timing cycle of raising capital. Very, very practical kinds of panels for entrepreneurs and for our venture funds as well. So we try to figure out what people need to know, and we try to get the best people possible to deliver those messages, and it seems to work out.
Let me leap in real quick before Matt asks the next question. It's been a long day. So are you going to be shooting any of this in video, so on demand afterwards, so people, because my recollection of the event is like 3 or 4 things going on simultaneously, and you can't be in all those rooms at once. But you're going to be recording this?
Well, I think so. I'm somewhere between the Pope and the King of England. I sit up there in the tall stool, and others do the work. I've advanced to that position. So I suspect that we're going to have those services provided in good order. And in fact, what we'll do is send out, anybody that wants to sign in from West Coast or out of the country or whatever, can pay a few bucks, not full boat, but pay a few bucks and get those videos.
Okay, Matt.
So I was just curious. A million years ago, when I was a reporter at Crane's Detroit Business, and I had more hair and it wasn't gray.
I think it was red too, wasn't it?
Yeah, yes, I
Okay.
think so. Mary Kramer came to me, Cranes loves lists, right? And Mary Kramer came to me with this big full-page list of venture capital firms from Crane's Chicago business and said, let's do one of these for Detroit. And I said, well, the advantage is it won't take up much room because there weren't very many venture firms in Michigan at that point.
Yeah.
It is better now, but it's still not ideal. What, you say that there's a lot of great ideas here, but it's still a lot of the money's coming in from out of state. Is there a reason for that? Is there a way to fix it? Or should we just sort of adapt to the environment that we're in now?
Every time I mention it, I get the opposite view that you are espousing here, because I agree with you. I wonder how dumb we are if I think the last figure I saw was for every dollar of money invested in a Michigan company by a Michigan venture capital fund, $43 came in from out of state. And God bless the local venture capital markets. What's happening is they're rolling the first log on a lot of these deals, and then some brainiac from California comes in and does the C or D round or whatever. I don't know. That's an oversimplification, but it's a good question. And I talk to institutional investors here, and we do venture capital all over the place. We're very big in China and so on. And I say, well, wait a minute. China is less risky than Washtenaw County. Is that what you're telling me? And they laugh and so on. So I don't know. It's a mystery to me. And you can't push a string, so not a lot to be done. We just have to get. I used to say we got to get more evidence of success, but we now have, I believe it is 12 unicorns in our state, and that's fairly impressive. And God bless them. They're all like Doug Song has formed the founders group, and all of those founders are pulling together. They're putting money together. They're helping companies. They're helping people who want to work with those companies, and so on. So I think we're at the front end of the early stage, put it that way, of this whole sort of thing bubbling up and becoming locally much stronger than we've ever been.